Hello and welcome to Tony's Bonsai. Today I'm going to be working on Japanese cedar or Cryptomeria Japonica. I've got quite a few. I'll show you this one first and then we'll get stuck into working on some others. I've recently joined my local bonsai society, which is Filed Bonsai Association. Really great group of guys. And last night it was the evening where people take along the trees, they do repots, work on things. So I took along this tree and just did some basic wiring and some pruning. I bought two of them when I bought this, and so I'm going to do a similar process to the second tree in a minute. This one is a kind of formal upright. It's got a very straight trunk. It's got some kind of standard traditional branching. It looks good from three directions. From either, it looks quite nice from there. It looks nice from there. And then another third of a turn. And it looks quite nice from here. It's not developed yet. All I did was bent this branch down into position, just moved these a little bit and just thinned it out. So let's go through that similar process and have a look at the other tree. Before I worked on this last night, it looked something similar to this one there. So you can see it's got a lot more density, it's bigger, and I want to reduce this and see if I can start turning this into something nice. Obviously, I could have taken either tree last night, but I decided to keep this one for a video because I think it's a bit more interesting. It's got some more character, it's got a more interesting trunk, and I did try to apply some wire and add some movement into this trunk this time last year. So this is more interesting. Also, the branches are a bit more sparse and a bit thinner. So my first decision is what to do with this bottom branch. I left it on as a sacrificial branch, but I'm thinking it probably now can go. Let's get this branch off. I'll get in there, put it right back to the trunk, and it's a nice clean cut, and that'll heal up over time, that. It's fairly obvious with this tree where the front is. With this very open area with no branching, this I would think has to be the front. This is lovely. I really like this branch. But then we've got two branches here. They're kind of on top of each other there, but they do add nice depth to the tree. If I rotated it and say decided that this was the front here, that tree, that branch then becomes part of the composition quite nicely. Or I could have the front here, but then this one then becomes out of it. So I think my option is either to go square on or just to the side here. This is nice, and this back branch can just stay going back out the back. It just adds some nice greenery to that back, although this could possibly go. Or if I bring this one down there like that, then this back branch here could come across a little and just fill some of this space up there. This is nice. It's a nice little tree. When I first got this, I did some basic pruning on it, and I'm going to show you that basic pruning on a small tree, which is like this one 12 months ago. But what I am also thinking is this movement, that there was some natural movement in it, but I enhanced it with wire. I could add a little more like that, which I think would make the tree even more interesting. It's quite subtle at the moment, which is nice, but I think I'd just like it to be a little more extreme. So I'm going to put vet tape and wire on this and come back to you. I've applied vet tape, 6mm aluminium wires doing the bending, and I've applied a coil of 3mm wire also, just to hold everything together and protect the bark and make sure I don't get any snaps. But with this kind of protection, I suspect I could go quite crazy on this if I wanted to, but I don't want to. I just want to increase that movement just to make it a bit more a bit more interesting. I really like that there. I like the way that comes. And I want to, it's the classic S shape really. Some people would say, oh, you know, I don't like the S shape, but for a tree like this, I think it works really well. Especially because I've got such an open front trunk there. It's just very nice with those branches. So I'm not going mad with this. I have wired all the way to the top, so I have got the potential to just bring that up straight there, which I like. And if that's coming up straight, I can afford to just take that there, bring that back up there, like that. How's that looking? I keep coming behind the camera to see. Oh yeah, we've got that really nice movement there. It's almost like the classic bonsai tree sort of shape, but it's quite gradual, and yeah, I like that. I'm very happy with the movement in this first branch, so I don't need to do anything with that. I've wired this one here, and rather than me have the front there, I've decided to have the front twisting this way a bit, and this will allow me to move this branch round there into position. But because I've rotated the tree a bit, this one tends to come out the back a bit more, so I'll be wanting to just move this round just like that, a bit more into there, just so it's coming and filling this space here. That works nicely, that actually. Happy with that. And I am adding a twist as well, because there, these branches just sit better with that twist in, so that works nicely. And this one I bent just a moment ago. There, that can come there. Excellent. Looking around at this back of the tree, this is the branch that I've bent so that I can see it from the front. And it means that these two are almost directly above each other now. And this top one will block all the light off from the bottom one. So I've applied a piece of wire, and I'm just going to bend this round here. And that's just to fill this gap and give them all light. I've moved this branch away now. You can't really see it from the front, which is fine. But I've noticed that these two branches now are coming out at kind of a similar level. And they're not. This is a lower branch. So by bringing that down there and just taking that up there like that, that's just taking them off, hopefully, the same plane. So now we've got one, yeah, sitting in that higher position, and I much prefer that. Now that I've moved these branches around, there seems to be a lot more light available to all these individual branches, which is great. But this top still appears to be a little bit thick. There's just a bit too much going on, so some of these branches are going to have to be removed. I've got one coming forward here. This is perfect for filling this kind of frontal space there. That's nice, but I've got one just behind it. That can go. It's a little bit congested in here in the centre, and I just want to allow some kind of lighting. So this top section up there, there's a lot going on, and I just have to decide which of these branches are needed and which are not. First thing I'll do is just cut off that piece of wire that was sticking out of the top, and then try and make some decisions on which of these branches to get rid of. So we're looking in at the front of the tree now here, and we've got a branch there. It's nice because it kind of comes, let's get rid of that little dangler there, that's in the way. Yeah, we've got a branch there, a branch here, and these are going nicely opposite each other. I was telling them last night at the club that I'm not necessarily a fan of the traditional Japanese style of bonsai where everything is very formal and orderly. However, with this tree, I'm kind of going that way. So, you know, there's no hard and fast rules to this stuff. This apex here is very cluttered. I think I'm just going to take that whole piece off. This is as tall as I want the tree. You know, I don't want this to keep growing up. It's already got some quite nice taper. And so, by taking the top off there, one of these will grow and develop into the new apex, and this will sort of, hopefully, over time kind of round off. That's a big branch there. So there's a few in the middle. I need to let the light in on a tree like this. If I don't let the light in, stuff below will die. And from this back edge here, it's all looking quite good really. As usual, I'm happy to leave quite a lot of growth on the tree. I want these bends to set, I want it to grow this year, so I'm not kind of thinking, oh, I need to get all this pruned off at all. And maybe just this branch here. It's got a lot going on there. It's quite heavy. So by just sort of reducing that, and again in here, this one is got a lot going on there. I wouldn't say they're an easy tree to work on. They're quite challenging, but I do think they look great. And again, round here, this branch, it's got a lot going on at the end. So I'll just take some of the end off, just to take a bit of the weight out, really. Oh, it's nice, that. Apart from just a couple of sort of straggly branches like that one that I just removed, and maybe just a bit there, I'm quite happy to leave most of these branches long to grow. He says as he starts hacking the life out of it. But I'm still leaving them quite long. That should do me now. That's developing quite a nice shape, and I think over the years this should turn into quite a nice tree. It's on it. I think it's on its way. Before I start work on those small plants, I just wanted to update you on this tree. I did a video on this last summer, I think it was, and I tried to style it into the acacia tree style. I was kind of inspired a bit by Nigel Saunders' tree, and I really liked how it turned out. I did have some comments saying that I should remove one of these back trunks to make it 3. However, I like the 4 trunks, so I'm not going to do that because I think it works well with both. I like the symmetry. I think they flow nicely. And I did think this tree was dead. A couple of months ago, this was completely bright red, like full bright red colour. There was no green on it at all. It just didn't look like it was doing well. However, the green has sort of re-emerged. It's picked back up. There's even some new signs of healthy new tips and shoots growing, so I think this might make it, which is great. I'm not doing anything on this now. I just need to leave this probably for the whole year just to try and get some health and develop the roots and stuff. So let's crack on with those little ones. Last autumn I was in one of my local garden centres, and they had these on sale on the sort of offer bench. I think they were just £2.24 Don't know why they come up with that price, but £2.24 each. I couldn't turn them down for that price because I do like Cryptomerias, and although they looked a bit dead, I thought, you know, if I give them a good watering and see where they are, you know, this year, you know, can't go wrong, can you? And they seem to have done okay. They were very, very red and they looked very, very dead. However, they're coming back to life now in the spring. They're looking okay. And I want to do some basic branch selection on these to try to get them in a position where, you know, to make decent trees down the line. They've all got slightly different forms. The difference between this one here and this one, which is much more compact, is quite interesting. So we'll start with this compact one, get this out of the pot and see what it looks like. I don't necessarily want to repot these, but I've got a feeling because they were so unhealthy, well, they're not root bound. There's plenty of root in there. So yeah, these have just been out in the rain and it's rained a lot the last few days. So as you'd expect, the soil is quite wet, but it's by no means soggy. Yeah, I think I'll just be happy to do a basic branch selection on these and just leave them be really in the pots. What I will do though is have a bit of a basic explore at the bottom of the trunk just to see if we've got any kind of nabari or any trunk hiding down there. While I'm looking down here, as well as checking out the trunk, I will also remove any branches that I think are too low and have to go. So this one there, for example, that's got to go. So there seems to be some sort of gnarled, curled up roots, which you often expect from this kind of plant. You know what I'm like once I start going at roots like this? I'm terrible. It's so hard to stop. But the trunk goes right down here, you see. So the trunk's buried and there's roots all coming off. So I think I will end up just teasing some of this top stuff away. I know what you're all thinking now. You're going, he's going to do it again. He said he won't touch the roots and he's going to bare root it. Well, am I? Yeah, it's looking like it. Right, but I mean, I had to come down here because the trunk, it's got quite an interesting shape to it. In fact, it's got a really interesting shape. Right. Yeah, whoever thought I would bare root it, you were right. You win. Again. I think it's best to get this. Oh, look. What's that? I've never had one of those before. It's a little white bug. Well, what do you think that could be? I've heard of these vine weevil and stuff. Oh, there's another one down there, look. Oh. I'm really glad that I went for this one then, because I'm sure they can't be good. Maybe that's why they were so ill, these trees. Right, I'm going to just bare root all of these Cryptomerias. The three that I've got, they're all being bare rooted. So here we go. All three had these bugs in. I've just looked on Google and these are indeed vine weevils. So these are like pretty nasty things. You do not want them in your bonsai pots. I'm hoping that they've not spread to my other trees, because I've never had this problem before. And you know, I did buy these trees relatively recently and all these bugs were all right in the centre of each pot. So I'm hoping they've all just stayed in there and there's none of them anywhere else. Obviously I'll dispose of that soil, I'll get rid of these and cross my fingers. Okay, let's take a look at the roots that I'm left with then. Obviously most of the roots dropped off, but I have still got some roots here. These little bits of white are just bits of perlite. They're not the... I made sure all the weevils were off the roots. So, you know, I'd like to sort that out a bit more, take some of these roots off, but now's not the time for this process. I just need to try and keep these alive. So I think that's got a chance. This next one, this was the first tree, and it's got a really low branch that I may as well just remove. And this has got quite an interesting, it goes down and then curves around, so perhaps that could even be grown in that style with almost like a bit of a windswept. So that's got potential. So it's obviously a question of whether these live. I don't know whether these will make it now. And this one has just got a kind of standard. This one looks the illest of them all. These roots look really unhealthy at the top, but they look okay at the bottom, so let's just plant them and see. Well, that's these trees all potted up. It's going to be interesting seeing what happens, whether they make it or not. Obviously, I'll be keeping you updated in the spring and summer as to how these trees do, along with the other Cryptomerias. Wasn't what I was planning for this video, obviously. My first encounter with vine weevil, but interesting nonetheless. As always, thanks for joining me. Have a great day, and I'll see you soon.